I'm in red form, in a red state, such a red case on a red song. In a shared space with my shareholders, cause we share a bond. Spiritual healthcare, that's real self-care, you won't care for.
I got my Mets hat on to the back. Y'all already know where we going with the stats.
Any artist that's talking garbage and try to curse us, y'all follow a wave and do whatever's current. I follow his ways, I know my turn is coming.
Welcome to New York Giants Full Access. What's going on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all platforms? Welcome to another premiere of the New York Giants Full Access show with your boy Big Pat Sports Talk. And today's subject for this premiere is gonna be a little bit about two subjects. First, are Leo Williams and Adoree Jackson's future with the New York Giants in jeopardy after this year? Based on some new comments that's been pulled up in the Twitter sphere by the New York Giants. We're going to get into those comments. We're going to hear what Joe Schoen has to say. But after you hear the comments with Leo Williams and Adoree Jackson's future with the New York Giants after 2023, will it be in jeopardy? Will they move on from those guys? As you know, both those guys' contracts are up after this year, and they have a void year next year, which means we still have to pay their void year money, but they will literally be free agents next year if nothing is restructured with their contracts, and neither one of them has been restructured yet this offseason. So I don't know what Joe Schoen has planned to clear any money, but those two guys are the top candidates to restructure in order to clear some cap room in order to sign our draft picks and maybe get Saquon Barkley signed to a lucrative long-term deal. And secondly, with that, if that is the plan, will this be a heavily riddled defensive draft for the New York Giants coming up? We all know that we need a center. A lot of people would like another receiver. But will this be a heavily riddled draft on defense coming up? So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the New York Giants GM, our GM, Mr. Joe Schoen. And let's see what he has to hear. And then we're going to talk about it a little further. All right. As you can see, Mr. Joe Schoen has been pulled up. So let's go hear what he has to say.
Guys, so I think it's important to continue to build depth and competition, and that's what we'll try. Right now we have 10, so as we're going through it, if there's somebody we want to move up for, we have some extra draft capital to do that. If we want to move back and flex some, we can do that too. Again, you got to look at the roster, not just today, but 2024, 2025. Who's coming up. Again, financially, there's some players that are making a pretty good chunk of money on our team and some contracts on the horizon potentially. So, those young, cost-controlled players for 4 years that can be contributors, whether it's a role on offense or defense, or core special teams guys. So, I think it's important to continue to build depth and competition, and that's what we'll try right now.
So, you heard what Mr. Joe Schoen was talking about right there, as far as there are some contracts on the team that are taking a pretty good chunk of money, and the first player that you think of, no matter if you like it or not, is Leo Williams. Now, it was reported earlier in the season that Leo Williams would see about getting a restructure to bring his cap hit down for the Giants to sign some players this offseason. And Joe Schoen has done one heck of a job getting players like Waller, Paris Campbell, bringing back Slayton, Bobby Okereke, Bryce McCain, Nacho. He was trying to get in Ashawn Robinson. But he's done one heck of a job doing that without even restructuring Leo or Adoree Jackson, who has a big cap hit this year as well, as at around 18-19 million, and Leo is around 31 to 32 million. And based on what he's saying, hey, look, we're gonna We're thinking about this roster past 2023. We're thinking about 2024, 2025. We're thinking about bringing in competition. We're thinking about doing a lot of things with this roster. And to be honest, the money that Adoree Jackson and Leo Williams is taking up, around $50 million off the cap, I don't see him partaking in doing that again next year. And if Leo Williams doesn't restructure his deal after this year, is his time with the New York Giants up? If Adoree Jackson doesn't restructure his deal and get a couple of more years on his deal, is his time with the New York Giants up after this year? Now, the first thing that I want to get into with these two guys possibly not being New York Giants here in the very near future is, can we afford to lose both those guys? Now, Adoree Jackson, his injury history crept back up last year, although he was put in a situation that I don't believe he should have been put in. But due to injury, he was at punt return, and he hurt his knee, and he missed a chunk of time. But let's talk about his play when he was on the field. I believe he was one of the top-rated corners in the NFL last year, and he was playing at an extremely high level. If you really look at the stats and you really look at what he was doing, he was playing at a very high level last year. And before he got hurt, him and Favorite Monroe, we were one of the top secondaries as far as giving up yardage and giving up receptions. We didn't have a 100-yard receiver against us the whole time those two dudes were healthy in the beginning of the season. He was playing very well. He was playing like a number one corner when we lined him up on Justin Jefferson. He did something. Jay Jettis did something in the very first drive, but after that, you didn't hear too much from Jay Jettis after that. Why? Because Adoree Jackson was chasing them all over the field. I think I could only see one time Adoree Jackson got burnt last year, and that was by Tyler Lockett with Seattle. But in that very same game, he got us a fumble on the 1-yard line where we scored our touchdown. So he gave up a touchdown, but he really created another touchdown in that very same game. He was playing very well, and I do think that he's deserving of being a number one corner on his team. But let's just say we let him go. So on the defense, you will have Aaron Robinson, who's often injured. We don't have Fabian Monroe no more. He's battling leukemia. Prayers go out to him. Know he's going to win that battle. Stay strong, and you'll come back better than ever. We got Cordell Flott, who's a little light in the tail, but it seems like he's got his weight up. Then we got Darnay Holmes, who he was getting cooked all last year. I like the guy, but he was getting cooked. He's very aggressive when it comes to screen passes and things like that. I like that about him. He'll blitz in there as well, but he was getting cooked. Then we got Rodney McLeod. He filled in and he played the best that he could. So after Adoree Jackson, we have those guys. Do we have two starting corners after that? Oh, yeah, we do have the free agent that we signed from the Lions and the guy from Duke that we signed. Both of them around 6'2", both of them around 200 pounds, both of them light press. So you can't forget about those guys. They will contribute as well. So with Cordell Flott, the two new corners that we signed, and the guy from Duke and the guy from the Lions, Aaron Robinson and Darnay Holmes, as of now, is that a good enough group to where we can go out there and be confident that we can stop somebody's pass game without Adoree Jackson on the field? And I'm going to go with the latter and say no, because when Adoree Jackson went down, our secondary played very, very weak. When Adoree Jackson went down and we didn't get strong again until Adoree Jackson came back, I believe Adoree Jackson is a very, very good part of this team, and I think we need him in this secondary. So am I against the move of letting Adoree Jackson go after this season? Yes, I am. But I will trust my GM. He has gotten some other pieces. He has gotten some of those bigger corners that these fans want, that the league is going towards, the bigger corners, the Woolens, all those guys. Seattle, just look at their cornerbacks, period. All those guys are huge. Pause. But let's say we do move on from Adoree Jackson. Does Deontay Banks or Joey Porter or Christian Gonzalez or any one of those top 6 corners drop to number 25? Do we have to put that pick towards a DB, pick number 25? You know, we need center. We need help with the edge rush. We need help at linebacker. We need help at receiver, even though I think our receiving core will be fine going into this year. But we only have 2 receivers on the roster under contract next year, so I'm quite sure they're going to get themselves a receiver. We need inside offensive line help. So does creating another gap on this team, is it worth it after this year? If you know that you're going to move on from Adoree Jackson. He'll be playing here this year, but if you know that you're moving on from Adoree Jackson, I don't see a situation where you don't take a cornerback with that number 25 pick if one of those top corners are there. I don't see the logic in it. But I'm going to trust my GM and let him do what he does. But the whole Adoree Jackson contract situation, I'm for keeping him for the foreseeable future. He's still young. He's only about 26 years old. By the time you give him another 3-year deal, he'll be hitting 30. And if you want to move on then, we'll have somebody in place to come take his place. But right now, I don't think we have anybody that is nowhere near the caliber of being the number 1 DB for us. Unfortunately, if it's not Adoree Jackson. So let's move on to Leo Williams. Now, Leo Williams' contract, he has a void year after this year. He's on the books for $31 to $32 million this year. A lot of Giants fans say that he's nowhere near worth the $31 to $32 million, even though that's not what he was paid over his contract. It was just the way that the contract was set up. Most of his money was towards the back end. He's at the very back of his contract after he signed a deal when Dave Gettleman was here for an average of about $21 million a year. So if you don't know the structure of the contract, go look at the structure of the contract. It was very low in the first years, and now it's very high towards the back end of the deal, which these are the type of deals that Joe Schoen wants to try to avoid with his tenure here with the New York Giants. So the question is coming up is Leonard Williams worth the money that he was paid? Leonard Williams, he's fell off. Leonard Williams, he's not a top defensive tackle in the league. Leonard Williams is not this. Leonard Williams is not that. He's nothing compared to what he did the one season where he should have been an all-pro. And none of that is true except for one stat, sacks. He's still getting the same amount of pressures he was getting. He's still getting the amount of tackles in the backfield. His production is still the same except the sacks. So fans, we live in the fantasy world. We live off stats. We live off the excitement. We don't look at the dirty work. We don't look at the work that the guys put in to actually get those stats. We don't look at the guys that actually put in the dirty work in the trenches to where other guys can come and get those stats. We don't look at that. We just look at one thing, sacks. Oh, he's paid big money, sacks. He has to get a bunch of sacks in order to live up to his contract. I'm going to be real with you. Leo has lived up to his contract since he's been signed to that contract. Last year was one of his lower years, if you want to say that, because he was actually on pace to be just as good at everything across the board except for sacks. And he's never really been a sack guy, but he is that guy that you put there on the defensive end or the edge to where he's a mountain. He doesn't move. I haven't seen this guy get tortured one-on-one by a guard or anybody he comes against one-on-one. He's always winning. He's a guy that helps stop the run game. Was our run defense terrible last year? Yes, because I believe that we didn't have the depth to stop the run like we were supposed to, and we didn't have the linebackers that knew what they were supposed to do as far as stopping the run. But now with Bobby O and maybe another linebacker coming here soon, who knows, we could get back to stopping the run like we were when Dalvin Tomlinson was here, or the year right after that when Leonard Williams was going crazy. I believe Leonard Williams is a very huge part to this defensive line. And yes, I'm going to say this as well. I'm actually against not bringing back Leo Williams after this year, especially if he's willing to come down off the $21 million per that he got with Dave Gettleman previously. And the reason why I don't think they restructuring Leo is because they want Leo back at a lesser number, because if you restructure him now, he's still going to be around that $21 million per down the line. You're just kicking the can down the line, and I think Joe Schoen is doing his best to find a way to do it without having to kick the can down the line. Now, am I against bringing Leo Williams back? No, I actually want him back. Let's say if we could get Leo Williams around 15 to 17 million. I think that would be a very good deal, because defensive linemen play to their 33, 34, 35. Leo Williams is only 28 years old or 29 years old. By the time he's done with another 3-year deal, he'll be around 31, 32. I think you still get plenty good production out of Leo Williams moving forward, and I don't see no reason why you wouldn't want to bring him back. But if that is the case, that they don't restructure Leo Williams and they let him hit the market next year and we don't have any money for him, how do we replace Leo Williams? Will it be Nacho? Will it be DJ Davidson? Is that guy on the roster already? I don't believe so. Not bringing the authority that Leo Williams brings, not bringing the run play that Leo brings, not bringing the pressure that Leo brings, not bringing the leadership that Leo brings. And him and Dexter Lawrence, they just have this type of connection where both those guys play very well when they're on the field together, especially if you get some depth to where they can get some rest. Are we going to put that pressure on Jihad Ward to come in and fill Leo Williams' shoes? I don't think that's fair. So what do we do if we let Leo go? Do we go Lucas Van Ness, DN from Iowa, to replace Leo Williams? Will a Miles Murphy be available if those guys are available at 25? Do we have to take those guys at 25 to replace a Leo Williams? What about a Kalijah Cansey? If he lasts that long at 25, do we have to go that route? Who are some of the DNs that you would draft later in the rounds to replace Leo Williams' production? Are these guys better because they're cheaper? Cheaper is better all the time? Not the case. But I do feel you if you say if we can draft a Lucas Van Ness or Miles Murphy or somebody like that at the 25th pick, if we know that we're letting Leo Williams go, hey, I'm with it. I believe those guys could come in and do one heck of a job. But I still think Leo in the future for the New York Giants will be the best move, especially if you can get his contract around the $15 to $17 million range, which I think that's what he's worth. Around what Dalvin Tomlinson signed. But let's get to the worst case scenario in my book. If they let both these guys go, if both these guys are not in the plans for the New York Giants after 2023, how do we replace these guys? How do we replace our number one corner and one of our number one defensive line guys? How do we replace that? What's Joe Schoen's plan? And for the people that want both these guys gone, what is your plan to replace them? Because we still have a major need at center. We're going to have needs at receiver because there's only really 2 receivers under contract after this year, and that would be Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. And Wan'Dale Robinson's coming off of ACL. Darren Waller is getting older. We do have Bellinger. Saquon Barkley still has to get paid. What if Saquon Barkley doesn't get paid? Then there's another hole on the team. Xavier McKinney's coming up to get paid. Do we need another safety, or is Dane Belton that guy that they know they can go with in the future? See, there's a lot of things in the future you have to think about before you just want to get rid of some guys that you feel that's overpaid, you know. But according to Joe Shane, which he has a history of drafting a lot of defensive linemen and just have them rotating. So I can see the plan on replacing Leo Williams being a lot easier than replacing Adoree Jackson. So if I have to say one of them has to go, I believe they will let Leo Williams go before Adoree Jackson. And they will move forward with Adoree Jackson and see if Cordell Flott or draft somebody in the draft this year and put them out there on the outside after this year and see how it goes. But if one has to be replaced, I do believe it's going to be Leo Williams. One, he costs the most money. And number two, the way Joe Shane builds his D lines, the edge rushers are premium, and he fills the middle of the defensive line with a lot of guys that can just rotate. And Dexter Lawrence will be the key factor on this defensive line moving forward. That is not up for debate. So, will the New York Giants have a defensive heavy draft coming up this year? I believe they will if these two guys are not in the future. Even if these two guys are not in the future, out of the 10 picks, I truly believe 6 will be on defense. Because I believe we're a much closer dominant defense than we are a dominant offense. Because it's not that easy just to get a number one receiver out there. It's not that easy. Either you're going to pay a premium price and give up draft capital, or you're going to have to hit early in the draft, and I just don't think one of these receivers is a dominant outside receiver in this draft. Maybe Zay Flowers, but I don't think he makes it to us. But that's my whole ordeal on if the New York Giants will move on from Leo Williams and Adoree Jackson after 2023 and have a heavily defensive draft this year in Kansas City with the 2023 NFL draft. You guys let me know what you think about those two subjects. Leave your comments in the comment section. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys for tuning in. Been a long time, but had to do a premiere for you guys today as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate all my subscribers and all my guys that are talking their talk with Big Pat Sports Talk and members of the Big Pat Sports Talk channel. Thank you guys for being members. Thank you guys for your support. Go cop your merch from the Big Pat Sports Shop. It's in the description. Get some What Are You Doing gear, like at the top right there. And support your boy, man. More content on the way. More draft content on the way. Can't wait till this draft is here and over so we can get into it and get this New York Giants Full Access Live 2023 season jumped off. But until the next episode or the next premiere, you know what it is, man. Peace. This is a Big Blue Crew production.